guys, and welcome back to the Edison Club podcast. I'm your host, Mike, joined tonight by my good friend and my co-host, Justin Morgan.
What's going on, guys?
And if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said and gals.
And gals, yep. Obviously, you're listening to this. You might be wondering why this episode came out a little bit later than our scheduled day, which is normally on Thursday. Well, buckle in because I have a hell of a story to tell all of you. It's definitely going to be story time. So, this week's episode was supposed to feature HT19, who has been deemed the creator of Edison format by Kevin Wu, I think is his name. It's always just like this running joke now. So we had to reschedule with HT19 a couple of times. And we finally set a concrete date to record Wednesday night. Thursday night. I'm sorry, Thursday night. We set a concrete date to record with him. And a little bit of a side story here. So obviously, if you're a longtime follower of the podcast and the channel, you'll know that I have a son on the way. He's going to be born here in just a few more weeks. My wife and I have been looking for a dresser for the nursery. We didn't want to spend a ton of money to go out and buy something new. So we've just been like looking at Marketplace, trying to find something that's like good condition enough to where I could recondition it, paint it the color we want. So we finally found one. It's a few towns over. It's like an hour away. So I get off of work on Wednesday, go to pick up this dresser. We meet the person. We load it up on my trailer. We come back home and it's just been in the garage since then. Nothing crazy, whatever. I was going to paint it this weekend. Well, Thursday rolls around and the person that we bought it from sends us a very weird message at like 4 p.m. and says, "Hey, I think that I left something in there, or I might have left something in there, like ... like something really just weird." So my first thought after that was, okay, it's probably clothes, it could be money, it could be anything, right? It could be something nasty from the bedroom.
Insert.
Yeah, insert.
Product.
It could be literally anything in the world. Okay, so I just said, okay, it's probably just like some clothes or something, and if she wants it, she can come get it. It doesn't matter. So I completely forget all about this. I sit down to record the podcast. It's 5 minutes until showtime. And my wife texts me and says, "Hey, go check in the garage in the dresser to see what it was so I can tell the girl, she can come get it tomorrow." I'm like, "Oh yeah." So I run back there, start looking through the drawers. One drawer feels very heavy because the dresser is laying on its back. Okay. The drawers are like facing toward the ceiling and it's very hard to open it. Eventually I'll see something in there. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And the more I look at it, I'm like, "Oh, that looks like a BB gun or a toy gun." So I reach in there, touch it. It's metal, and I pull it out. And this is, I'm not going to say what it was or what the condition it was, just to not put out so much information. It was a very illegal firearm. It had been modified, and it was very, very illegal, especially after the research that I've done. You could not have that. So I'm like, what the fuck? Out of everything that there could have been in this dresser, that was the last thing on my mind. I never thought.
It was a 1453 Byzantium double barrel cannon.
Yeah, double barrel cannon. It was a what are those guns called? Like Elmer, a blunderbuster? Is that what they're called with like the flute on the end?
I have no idea.
It's like a long rifle that it looks like it has like a trumpet on the end of it. I think it's like a blunderbuss or something. But yeah, there was some artillery in there. So immediately I'm like, what do I do with this? Like, and at first I'm just like, "Oh, I guess she can come get it." And then I'm like, wait a minute, like what if this is like stolen? What if this was used to like hurt somebody? Whatever, right? Because this was not Grandpa's pistol, okay? This was something that could really
like you can't drive this to her house because you're going to risk, like, this might be the last episode you guys ever hear if you did that.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be doing podcasts with fucking G Hopper 85.
You don't want this person knowing where you live because, like, what if they did something very bad with that weapon?
Exactly. Yeah. What if they come to my house to pick it up and all of a sudden I'm tied at the bottom of a lake with cinder blocks on my feet?
Boyd Hopper 85.
Oh God. So I just do the only reasonable thing. I'm like, I'm just going to call the police. They can come get it. I'll explain the situation, what happened. If everything is on the up and up and this is legal, which I don't think it is, and it's theirs, you know, they can come pick it up at the police station, show that they own it. Everything will be fine, right? So they come and pick it up, and I won't say if it was involved in anything or if it was stolen or not, but I'll just say it was very sketchy. The whole thing was very, very sketchy. It is gone, and we had to block the girl on Facebook. Me and my wife both blocked her because we were just afraid of what could happen. I haven't heard anything else. I'm hoping that it was just she made a dumb mistake, left it in there, and went to the police department, picked it up. She has her gun, I have my dresser, and we're both happy. That's best case scenario. So that's why the podcast is a little bit late this week, because, yeah, that was literally the most unforeseen circumstance that I ever have had in my life. So what are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, first off, like, I was halfway asleep when you messaged me, or you sent in the group chat.
Yeah, I sent in the group chat.
Yeah, there's like so many group chats I'm a part of that when I see like a big thread, I usually like, you know what, I'll catch up with it later.
Yeah.
But then like the next morning, it's like when you message me something privately, I know that it's like, okay, I got to listen to this. I know it's something worth listening to.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm the kind of person, like, people talking in group chats, I really just don't hone in on the conversations. But I'm like, okay, well, what's going on here? And then I'm like, wait a minute, what the heck am I like listening to and reading?
Yeah, the longer you read the post, the worse it got.
Yeah, I'm just like, because I've had a pretty bad week, and I don't want to go into detail here, but that conversation was like, wait a minute, like, that's sort of like, that took my mind off of things, and I'm like, okay, well, like, this is actually, to me, I thought it was pretty funny, because I'm just like, you have these ridiculous stories, and that is like further, that's just another one that you can tell your kid, you know?
Yeah, I was telling my wife, like, what if this gun was used to, like, unalive somebody? Like a mystery that was never solved. I can tell my son one day, like, when you were in utero, you were like you were the first in utero crime solver.
Yeah, so I'm the kind of person, and not getting into politics or gun rights or anything like that, to each your own. But to me, like, there's just some things that, like, it's hard to justify the need, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like something like that. Like, I think a lower caliber weapon would have been adequate for home defense.
Yeah, because if you use this thing for home defense, like, you're just gonna turn them into Swiss cheese.
And I'm sorry, dude. Like, if the government's coming after you, then, like, it doesn't matter what kind of gun you got. There's like a lot of them in just one of you.
Dude, there's this guy.
It doesn't matter.
A comedian. I can't remember what his name is, but he does this skit where he's basically like, look, everybody that wants to own crazy fully automatic weapons, we get them all together, like 300 of those guys, right? And they have like their ARs and their shotguns and whatever, their Kevlar vests that their guts hang out underneath. 300 of them versus like 2 members of the U.S. military. The bell rings. The guys start charging with their guns, and then you just see drones pop out from behind like the 2 military guys, and it just vaporizes everyone else. And I'm like, that's exactly how that would go.
You know what, though? It wouldn't surprise me too if like the military was so inadequate that like it was a standoff, like just a fair fight. Like,
yeah.
But I digress. Like, that is just an insane find. Like, it's scary because, you know, I have kids that are actually able to pick up things like that. So who were to say I didn't get the dresser and like left it in the hallway for a week, and next thing I know, I come home from work and something bad's happened.
Yeah, the only silver lining with this was the fact that the gun was not loaded.
Yeah,
that's the only silver lining, because
not when you finish with
it. Your mind goes to like a bunch of what ifs. Like, what if I went and got that dresser, left it on my trailer, okay? Said, nah, I actually don't feel like painting this. I'm just going to take it to Goodwill. And I take it to Goodwill, and then they have me on camera dropping this off. And then, like, I'm involved. You know, they're going to think it's mine, because I can't just be like, oh, well, I got this from this person. They'll be like, oh, yeah, right. You know, hands behind your back. Like, oh, my God, dude. I'm so glad that it went well, that nothing crazy happened. No one got hurt. No one got arrested that I know of. And yeah, so that's a hell of a way to start a podcast. But I felt like I basically needed to tell everyone about how my weekend went. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's jump into tonight's topic, which is going to be talking about the death of trading in Yu-Gi-Oh! But I feel like this is probably across like all card games at this point. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that just with the evolution of the internet in general, backpack vendors and things like that, trading is. I think it's not just. It's not synonymous with just one card game. It's across all the brands. Um, and I think that it's. I think it's taken a lot of fun away from the game. To be honest with you.
I do too. Like back in the day, you went to a regional, you had a few things in your backpack. You had like your playmat, obviously your deck in your deck box, dice, paper, pen, and then you also had trade binder, or trade binders. Most people had multiple trade binders, myself included. And in between rounds, you walk around and you try to trade people, this card for this card, this card for this card. And eventually, once the internet became highly accessible through people with smartphones, it kind of became this weird thing where everyone was just trying to get over on each other by like $10. And even then, sometimes it would be taken to like another level where it's kind of like, I want plus $10 on you and then throw in something small. And
Yeah.
I was young and I fell for that crap so many times. Like, oh, well, this is their business. They need to make money. I'm just a kid, and eventually I was just like, well, what if this is my business? Can we trade even?
Yeah. Let's start off at the beginning here. So I want to say that I'm a little bit older than you, so I'm 33. So
yeah,
2002.
Justin actually just started drawing Social Security.
I did, and actually, hey, by the way, I'm missing a high caliber weapon. I had to put it in
I left it in my dresser.
Anyways, the dimension setting, not dimension, different dimension, different dementia. No, so back, I remember it was probably 2008, and Pojo was a thing, right?
Yeah.
I remember Dark Strike Fighter just coming out, and it was like a $40 super rare, I think is what it was. And I had a friend, and his mom was like, at the time we thought she was loaded. She basically had a blue collar job, but that was a lot more money than what I had growing up, my family.
Yeah.
And so his mom would get him cards and things like that, but we never heard of TCG player. Like I think Troll and Toad was a thing back then, but Pojo was where it was at. And I remember his mom, he would be like, "Hey mom, there's somebody on Pojo that wants to trade." And I remember he made this big trade for a Dark Strike Fighter, and his mom like got the envelopes ready to do the trading, got the addresses set up and everything like that. And you pretty much just had to like rep, and you had to like just trust people by word of mouth and things like that. And like,
Yeah.
I'll send them my card. A lot of times, like trusted sellers would wait till they got your card in the mail, and they would send you the one that you wanted. And from what I remember, like he did that quite a bit. And he was active on like Dueling Grounds, Pojo, all those servers and stuff back then that are just obsolete now. That's how we got things online. And then of course you had your binders. We go to like Books a Million, because that was my locals growing up, was Books a Million. And then later on it was Star City Games, before they really just got rid of anything that wasn't Magic. But you had trade binders, and it was like, hey, I got, I need that card there. It's worth, your Solemn Warning is worth $30. Do you want anything from me? Sure. This is worth 35. Well, that's fine. I'll take the $5 hit. Let's trade. And that's how it was back then. You didn't really have a lot of people that I remember just having wads of cash. Let me buy this. Let me buy that. It was a lot of trading going on.
Yeah. Yeah. You could even go back and see like people would post their trade binders on YouTube and trade with people in the comments.
Yeah, and maybe it's just me, but I remember back in the day during sneak peeks, I think you would just be able to get a lot more sets than they let you do now. So if you enter the sneak peek, you could technically enter 5 or 6 times, and just you get 30 packs or whatever it is, and then you just pull more cards to trade if you didn't get what you needed, kind of thing. And then in 2010, I remember I started playing more competitive. Well, it's around 2011, really. And TC or Troll and Toad was a thing. And then I remember, my roommate Madison, my buddy Kurt at the time, we were like, we were working, and I was in community college and stuff. And it's like, do we want to eat nice this week, or do I need to get that gold or a chaos sorcerer kind of thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we would give Madison money, and he would make orders off eBay and Troll and Toad and things like that. And that's when I think around the early 2010s is when like online buying started getting popularity and backpack vendors.
Yeah.
So what's your experience with backpack vendors? How did you trade when you started the card game?
So I got ripped off. I got juiced a lot. I told this story about how
Oh,
my
we all did.
first experience in getting juiced in Yu-Gi-Oh was with Ty. And he did juice me. He's been like my brother my whole life, but he did juice me. Obviously, I was a kid. I did what all kids did. I begged my parents to buy me packs from Walmart. I had the broken little kid luck, and I pulled an ulti first Destiny Hero Dogma, like right after that set had come out. I don't know how much it was. I know it was worth enough that people made a really big deal about it. So I don't know. I don't know how much it actually was.
I don't think it's worth more then as it is now. If I could go back and get any ultimate rares in like the game, it would be like the OG heroes, because those have shot up like so much in price.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I don't know exactly how much it was. Maybe it was $30. I don't know. That was a lot for like 2007. So I pull this card and I go into the card shop and I'm wearing like a shirt that has like a chest pocket. And I have it in there, and I immediately go in and I like throw it on the table, and I was like, does anybody want to trade for this? And Ty immediately jumps up and is like, I want to trade for it, because he was trying to build a Destiny Hero deck at the time. And he trades me an ultimate rare Neo Space for it, which I'm sure could not have been more than like $2. And I was happy. He was very happy. And then like 10 years later, I was like, wait a minute, I think I got punked.
Okay, but in all fairness, did either one of you guys know the value of the cards back then?
Because I didn't, because I really was like a little kid. I feel like he probably did, just because he was like much older.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure.
Because I'll tell you this though, like when you take out price out of the equation, it is so cool to be like, I think this card's cool. You think that card's cool? That's all that matters. Let's get this deal done.
Yeah.
Like you will never find that. You will never find that around anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. That was like my first ever experience trading with someone that was not my cousin Evan, who I've mentioned on the podcast several times, who will eventually be on the podcast someday, sometime, who I grew up playing cards with. And from there, it was the flea market days. I did still trade. I'm sure I still got juiced, but little by little, I started kind of learning more about like rarity and why that mattered, and you know, first edition versus unlimited. I remember I also this might have been before the Dogma thing, because I actually just thought about this. I actually pulled an MFC first breaker when I was a kid and took it to the shop, and I was going to trade it for a Sorcerer of Dark Magic. And the guy that was trying to trade with me actually got in trouble. I don't remember what I ended up doing with it, what I ended up selling it for. But yeah, definitely everyone got juiced as a child. But eventually, you know, I started learning more about trading, and I go back and I watch some of my old deck profiles. My decks were stacked, dude. Like I had ulti Vayus, I had super whirlwinds way back in the day, and I guess I finally did learn how to trade a little bit better. But from there, you know, going to regionals and other card shops and stuff, I always had my binder with me. And eventually, I kind of just got to a point to where by no means do I have a ton of money. I don't have a ton of disposable income, but it's just easier for me to drop $10 to buy the card that I want versus going to a card shop, someone looking through my bulk, looking through all of my binders, going back and forth, and then trying to get over on me by $4 in something small. So I couldn't even tell you the last time I actually traded cards and put like a lot of cards towards something I wanted. Most of the time, it's just like, I'll just buy the cards that I need, which is kind of sad that that part of the game is just kind of dead now.
Like the only trading that's around is trading for store credit.
Yeah, exactly.
And even then, like you're getting gypped a lot of the time too.
Yeah.
But with all due respect, like card shops sort of have to do that, you know?
Yeah, card shops can't buy from you at 100%. You know, I don't expect them to. I think that our locals buys for like 75%, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think the best time to sell cards is at like when you go to like big events, like usually tier 3 events.
Yeah.
That's like when cards are in demand. And I think
at
that
YCS Orlando a few months ago, there was a vendor there that was paying retail for like old ultis and stuff like that. I got rid of so much of my ulti Lightsworn deck for literal retail to this vendor.
That's a deal because we have a friend of ours that is a backpack vendor that was selling to them. So that when the backpack are selling to them,
Yeah.
so they got some good. So shout out to them. I don't remember their names. There was a lot of good vendors there. But those guys really stood out.
Yeah.
I remember pulling an Ultimate Rare Silverwind Descendant back in the day, and all I remember thinking was like, I'm not going to sell this. Like, this is going to go in my trade binder.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh my god, what's the value on this? It's like, this looks cool. Someone's going to want it. And I'm going to get something that I need. But speaking of which, what's your opinion on backpack vendors? Like, do you think they're good for the game? Do you think they're bad? Like, what do you think?
So there's give and take to all of that. I like how when you go to an event, as long as you're willing to do the work, you can basically find any card that you want between the actual vendors there and then like the backpack vendors. Also, too, if you're not aware, you cannot sell cards for money inside of the venue. Yeah. None of us have ever done that. We're not promoting that. We've never done that. This is going on record. We have never done that. Okay, so you have been warned. If you get banned, do not say Edison Club Mike told you to, because I will deny it and I will play them this clip that says I'm telling you not to do it. Okay, but if you meet outside of the venue with backpack vendors, you can generally find anything that you want. I think that they're good for the game overall due to like card accessibility, because when I was a kid, like people at your local card shop didn't have it. If your local shop didn't have it, you weren't getting it. You were playing your Blackwing deck without Shura until you either pulled one or someone came through and randomly had some. So I think they're good in that regard. Where I think they're bad is there are some that use the title of being a vendor as just an excuse to just blatantly rip people off. I am friends with a few backpack vendors that I've sold to several times. And, they tell me up front, this is what I can pay on it. This is the percentage. Sometimes they give you a little bit more. Sometimes it's a little bit less. But I've tried to deal with people before, and they're paying like 45% on people's cards. I'm just like, you are just using this as an excuse to rip people off. And that's all that there is to that in some cases. So just like everything else, I think there's good and bad. What are your thoughts on it?
The only thing that gets me about those guys is like, I think their prices are a lot more fair than what you'd find at a vendor.
Yeah, because normally it's not overly inflated.
But the thing that gets me is like, you look at condition and these guys are like, oh, this is super near mint. And then you end up getting it and it's like mod played or heavily played.
Yeah.
Or they know what condition it is, but they're giving you the price of like, obviously it's damaged. I'm going to give you heavily played prices and stuff like that. But typically it's still cheaper than the vendors.
Yeah, it is. That's a whole side rant too that we can talk about for a second. Is I feel like people have went fucking crazy with card condition in the last few years, to the point where like I severely like overgrade stuff that I'm selling online. Like if it has a scratch, if it has a nick, I'm like posting close-ups of it, saying like, this card, which is probably lightly played, I'm like, it's moderately played. Like if you get it in the mail, don't try to tell me like, you said it's LP, like it's moderately played, because I've had people do deals with people before, and this has been several years ago, sell them cards and then them not even tell me that something was wrong and just do a chargeback on it. So then I lose the money and the card.
Yeah.
And I've had that happen before. Thankfully only like twice, but I actually don't like selling online that much unless it's just somebody that either I know and have sold to before, or it's like somebody within like a group of people I know that they're not going to do something crazy.
There are a select 2 or 3 people that have bought from me before without any issues, and the reputable sellers themselves, and I always reach out to them first.
Yeah.
And I will always take a smaller percentage if it's not that much difference, to know that like they are not going to complain about what they get because they know what it is.
Exactly. And I've met some cool people by trading online. Tony's son, shouts to him. He sent me a lot of playmats for Memento Mori. Go check those out.
Shout out to Bowen Chin.
Yeah, Bowen. He's a good guy too. I've sold to him as well.
I sold that guy a Max Rarity Tengu deck, and all I did was send him close-up videos, pictures, no complaints whatsoever. It was like a $2,000 transaction.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of guys that like you can trust. Like I'll pay you Friday. I trust them completely.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but you'll
Yeah.
get those people that like they find a nick in the card and something they obviously knew about, or something that like even the lighting could be the picture they took could just maybe like give a false representation of the card state, or they
Exactly.
could have done it themselves. And they're like, well, how about you give me like $30 back and we'll call it even.
Yeah.
Or in your case, like let's just go ahead and have the money and the card. I'll tell you this though too. When you sell people bulk, you would think that like they don't go through bulk. I sold
Oh, I know this
Ryan
story.
Prescott. This is before I really knew Prescott. You know him now. He's a real cool dude. But a few years ago, I bought this huge collect. Well, I wouldn't say huge, but huge to me.
Yeah.
Me and my buddy went half these, and we paid $500 for the collection. That was probably worth about $3,000. And I was able, we were able to keep some cards. This was back when like Ghost Ogre just come out, Ash Blossom was out, Infinite Impermanence was like a big card, you know.
Yeah.
All the secrets and stuff like that. And we kept like staples, stole staples. Anyways, we had a bunch of bulk left over at the end, and we're like, who wants to buy this? And reached out to Nonstop Gaming, which was Prescott, and he's like, I'll take it. And we counted the cards. We thought meticulous. We must have been tired because we forgot. Like I think we were off by like 300, and we sent in thousands and thousands. There might have been like 15,000 cards. So it's not unrealistic to think you're off, and you know what I mean, to be off a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I think we were off maybe 300. Yeah, we were, because it was like a month later. He's like, hey, I need you to refund me $30. We're missing 300 cards, which was not a big deal considering how much we got paid.
Yeah.
But it was like this guy sit down and went through each individual single.
He did.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well that's why I'm not getting my orders on time.
Shout outs to Ryan Prescott. That guy
Cool
has
dude.
done stuff with cards his entire life. Like there's probably no one that is more knowledgeable about like the game and like cards than him. He will be on the podcast someday. We've worked before to try to get him on. We had a scheduling conflict one time, and he's doing a lot. He owns some of Troll and Toad, or all of Troll and Toad, or half of Troll and Toad, something like that. So he stays pretty busy. Even to the point where it's kind of affected him like playing in events and stuff. But we will have him on the podcast at some point, because I know that guy has a lot of stories to tell.
Yeah, that's going to be a good episode.
Yeah, we will get there eventually. That's always in the works. So whenever we can work out a time with him that works for him and with me, we're going to do that. So yeah, once again, shouts to him. But yeah, back to the whole thing about like just trading and stuff like that. Like I remember I had Pojo magazines as a kid, and the owner of our old card shop, I loaned him one of my Pojo magazines, and he went and photocopied the price guide out of the back of it, which, like, if you know anything about Pojo magazine, like the month it came out, the prices were already incorrect, let alone going for months and months and months, just based off of this one guide. So there was definitely a lot of people that got juiced by that guide, and a lot of people that probably plussed like a madman off of that guide as well.
Dude, that guide is so. I never took those seriously. Just because like those magazines come out so long
Yeah,
after the card may or may not be relevant anymore.
exactly.
But I do want to touch up on something too, and I think this is another reason too why trading has died. It is because I think that we take the game with us where we go, if that makes sense. Like the same people that are playing now, for the most part, at least in the retro community, were the ones playing back during those Pojo days,
Yeah,
during those Duelist Ground days or whatever. And as we get older, we're just able to get our own money and to get our own cards, and don't want to really deal with trading when I could just buy what I need.
exactly. You
And
just completely
I
cut
don't have
out
to
the
hold, yeah.
middleman.
And so, like, we're missing that young generation of playground kids that play Yu-Gi-Oh, I think. And if we had that generation of kids that played, I think it would still exist, in to some extent at least, right? In that environment. But I think that the fact that it's hard to get new players into the current game, I think that's why we lack a lot of trading.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because little kids just don't have that disposable income, right? It's like, ask mom. Well, mom and dad's not going to pay $9 and $10 for a card when they don't know what the card game is, and to them it's just a piece of paper.
Yeah,
Our kids, we know how it works. So if our kids wanted something, okay, let's work out a deal. Let's see what we can do. But we just don't have that young generation. And I think that as we got older and we evolved, so did how we get cards.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
yeah, so I think that if there were kids still playing as much as there were back when we were kids, then I think it would still exist, but we just don't have that.
Yeah, I'll tell you something else too, and I've been following this more and more lately, is scalpers buying up product from like the box stores has really put a hurting on like kids getting into
Yes.
the game, having the experience of going and like buying packs, because I've seen it all the time now. People that go and just like line up at, I think it's Costco, that has like literally people lined up around the building for Pokemon cards. They're trampling people, they're cutting in line, they're fighting each other. I've seen ones about people, apparently some places have like Pokemon vending machines where you can buy like some singles, packs, boxes, and people just go and just buy out the entire machine, leave nothing for anyone else. And then what they're doing is they're taking this stuff, putting it online and selling it for like double or triple MSRP because of the scarcity that they're causing. So
And the sad thing is, dude, is people are actually going back and buying this stuff too.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like a little bit of a side story here. Back in 2020, I won't say who, I'll just say a local card shop in our area would go and buy out our local Walmart of everything that had to do with Pokemon sealed product. They would buy it all, take it back to the store, mark it up for double or triple what MSRP was. And obviously, I don't care if you sell it for a little bit more than MSRP, but it was double, it was triple the price. And they would then sell all of it because they controlled the whole market in a small area, to the point where they had so many complaints about this happening that Walmart does not have card gaming product anymore. They don't have Yu-Gi-Oh, they don't have Magic, they don't have Pokemon, nothing. If you go to where that stuff used to be, it's like the as seen on TV aisle. Like it single-handedly ruined having sealed product in that town, just because of the greed. And I've seen some
Yeah.
places now that, you know, I saw some people on TikTok that were basically selling Pokemon boxes, and they're like, hey, it's this much if you buy it and take it with you. But if you open it here in front of us on camera, because they're using that for box opening videos and posting online, you can have it at this much of a discount. And then some stores are also, if you go and buy like a sealed box of Pokemon, they take the plastic off of it. So you can't just go and put it on eBay and resell it for double, which I think that's great. A lot of people have mixed feelings on that. I'm not trying to like shit on people that are just trying to like make a dollar, but there are people that go and hit up multiple stores, buy out all of the product, leave none for anyone else, and just sell it for like super inflated prices. I can't get behind that.
Yeah, and I don't understand too why. I don't know if they're just not making enough to begin with, like in the the print shops or whatever it is. Um, I just remember back in the day, like it wasn't hard to find product. You would find Yu-Gi-Oh everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, like places would be oversaturated with it. Like you would find it in gas stations. And same goes for Pokemon too. Like
Yeah.
you would find it just in obscure places you would never think. That's where I got my first structure deck or starter deck at, was actually in a gas station.
Yeah.
I got the Yugi starter deck and or sorry, a Kaiba starter deck and a Legend of Blue Eyes pack. And now it's just scalpers have ruined it so much. But I just don't understand how, like, especially when you look at like Pokemon, it's like the biggest card game in the world, right? Like, why is this stuff not printed enough? Like, why? To me, like, why would scalpers have to do what they do if this stuff was mass available? You know?
Yeah, I was about to say too, I think there's a couple ways to fix this. The first one should be like when you go to the pharmacy and you buy something like Sudafed, right? You can only buy so much like liquid Sudafed in a certain time frame. I guess because you can make other drugs out of it. You have to show your license, they scan it. There should be some kind of system like that for card gaming product, as bad as that is to say, to prevent people from just going and buying all of this, because stores have like their own rules, like you can only buy 2 of this. But when it all is said and done, like people just go to self-checkout and just buy as many as they want, and no one's really going to stop them.
It's not just that either. Like Betty, who's 65 years old at self checkout, doesn't give a damn if you buy 3 packs of Prismatic Evolutions or 6 packs.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
He's
So
going, oh, it's in Pokemon cards. Like,
yeah,
like,
yeah, that could be one way of solving it, which I feel like that is very overly complicated and would never happen. The second one would be something like what you said, where they just print so much product that it's basically worthless, which is also bad, because then there's like,
yeah.
what's the chase, of like buying and opening packs.
You don't want to oversaturate the market either.
Yeah.
And because this stuff is just going to sit on shelves, and that's going to hurt local card game stores too, right?
Yeah.
But I think what you need to do is if you want OTSs to survive, you limit how much you give retailers, right?
Yeah.
Or limit how much people can buy with some kind of system, like you mentioned, maybe. But I think that when OTSs need product, then you should have that available to give them product on hand at a relatively quick pace. Because if first off, they're asking for it, then it's not just going to sit on their shelf, right?
Yeah.
But don't like underprint it so much to where they can't even get their hands on it. And then they're subject to scalpers, and then they just don't have product to give to their customer base.
Yeah.
And like you said, Walmart doesn't even give a crap about YuGiOh, at least from what I see.
No, they really don't.
It's pretty much sports cards now.
Yep.
And it's like things I've never, like garbage pail kits. Like, tell me in a world where garbage pail kits should have a spot on the shelf before YuGiOh, right?
Exactly.
But it's mostly Pokemon, and then a lot of that stuff ends up sitting on the shelf too, unless it's like a sought after product. But there's just no YuGiOh. So to me, like, if the retailers don't give a crap about YuGiOh, then focus on the OTSs. Like, give them enough product so they can make money, and it still wouldn't be so mass printed that like it just dilutes the market either.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that the scalpers have just kind of ruined a lot of stuff for people. I can remember a time at my local card shop, and I didn't even play Pokemon, so I had no dogs in this fight. But there was a guy. Let me give you a little bit of a side story here. There was a guy that went to my old locals that played Pokemon. He worked at a Circle K, and he would come not only to the local card shop, but he would go to like the local Walmart, the Walmart in the next town over, the Walmart in the next town over from that, and come back and have thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of product. And people are like, what is this guy doing? Because he works at a Circle K. If you work at a Circle K, that's fine. But you don't feel like I don't feel like you get $2,000 or $3,000 paychecks from Circle K, right? Like,
yeah.
So it's fucking crazy, because later on they found out that what this guy was doing was that he was stealing rolls of scratch off tickets and scratching them off.
I remember that story.
Yep, he was scratching them off and then he wouldn't go redeem them himself because they would catch on to what he was doing. So if he scratched one and it was like, you won $1,000, he would sell the scratch off ticket to somebody else for $500. And that's what he was doing to go and buy all of this Pokemon product, and basically running like the local community out of ever being able to go and buy any kind of sealed product, which that story is absolutely insane. That guy ended up getting off completely clean. I think he got some community service or something, but he did not have to pay back anything that he stole at all.
He gave you authorities. I'll tell you what, you let me go free, I'll give you the scratch off ticket.
Yeah, he probably did. Like, if I had even considered doing something like that, right? Like, I would have gotten instant karma immediately. Like, roof caves in on my house, or like something would have happened. And some people just get off so easy. But yeah, that was crazy, because he was basically doing, like, I don't know if it's like, I guess it's theft. Like, he was stealing and then also laundering the money that he stole into like Pokemon cards.
Yeah. It's like everything. It's like everything above embezzlement, theft.
Yeah.
And can you just imagine the poor people that would, like? Obviously, he had all the tickets, all the winning ones, right? So
he just had rolls of lottery tickets. Like, he would just take entire rolls home and just scratch them all off.
I just don't understand too, like, so I used to be an assistant store manager for a grocery store, and I used to be in charge of scanning the lottery tickets. And so you'll have a distributor come in, right, who works for Virginia Lottery, and they'll load the machine. But at the end of the day, like, I'm the one that has to, like, pull all the numbers, see how much was sold, count the tickets and stuff. So to me, like, this guy couldn't have been doing it for too long, because, I mean, this stuff is easily traceable, especially there's, like, no purchase history to, like, track it.
Yeah, I don't know enough of the details to know how he got around it. I know that it went on for months. I don't
I
know
can
if
tell
he
you this too,
was.
though.
I don't know exactly
If
what he
they
was doing.
if they loaded their own machine and didn't scan them when they loaded them, then that could be one thing too.
Yeah, I think it was like just when you go to
So
a gas station, it's just like those clear like boxes. You're
yeah,
like, I'll get 2 number ones, 1 number 7,
yeah,
and they just tear it
yeah,
off. Like if he
yeah,
just took like one roll of those, stuck it in
yeah,
his backpack, and then still had that ticket to continue selling, that's probably how he got away with it. But like the whole point of it is he basically used that money to scalp Pokemon product.
yeah. That is that is going to the extremes. I don't think there's any card game worth me doing that.
No, no, not at all. Nothing, no hobby is worth jail time.
No.
Nothing is worth going to. Can you imagine you go to jail and you tell them you're in there because you got scalped? Or you got in trouble for scalping Pokemon cards. Like somebody'd be like, "Boy, I want to see your Pokeballs." Like
You imagine like, oh, they got you for that too.
yeah,
But
fucking
I guess
crazy.
going back to the main conversation, people will go out of their way to like scalp people, especially younger kids too.
Yeah, I see it happen
Not
quite
scout, but
frequently.
like just rip them off. I mean, um, and you see it all the time. We're the age now. Like I think we're just morally good people. That I think we've seen in person before too, and call people out on it. And it's like let's not do that kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, you're just like you're hurting the community. You're taking away players from it. You're discouraging kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, like if you're a kid and you pull, I don't even know what's the most expensive card in Modern right now. One of the Molcharmy cards,
Oh
probably.
gosh, yeah, like
Yeah,
Fulera or Walrus or whatever they say it. Yeah, right.
yeah.
QCR, something
If
like
some
that. Yeah.
kid, yeah, if some kid pulls a QCR Fawalos, right, and the kid looks at your binder and he's like, "I want Genzo," and you're like, "Okay, I'll do that." Like, there's no sugarcoating this. You're just a piece of shit. Like that's just all that there is to it. You might as well have stolen that. Like you might as well have went up to your local card shop, went behind the counter, opened up the case, took it, and left because you just did the same equivalent.
Okay. Now, if a competent man comes up to me or woman, a competent adult that is in the right state of mind, and they want to do the trade, like okay, that's on you.
Yeah, at
But
that point,
not
like,
to somebody that's oblivious to like okay, boy, like if you come up to me and you're like, dude, I really want that first edition Near Mint Genzo, and and I'm like, okay, well, I just want that beat up copy of Dark Magician from Starter Deck Yugi that you got. Obviously, I know that's not a fair trade. You better walk away with that like Genzo. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. Like
But
if you come up to me, right, and I have a Toyota Camry from 1994 with 700,000 miles, and you have a brand new BMW, and you're like, hey man, I really want to trade. I want an old car, right? Like both people know what's going on, right? Like you're both
yeah,
you're both
the guy at the
fully
Toyota
developed
get a better
adults.
deal.
And you're just like, okay, I
Yeah,
mean, if that's what you want,
the guy with the BMW is getting ripped off. So I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
no, the guy who's
I've
walking away with the BMW is getting ripped off. I
I've
had a
seen
buddy who had a
it.
Toyota that had like 500,000 miles and it ran good.
Yeah. I've seen it. I've stopped it from happening several times. People always want to act like you're the bad guy whenever you prevent something like that. Like don't, intrude on my trade, but like you're basically just like stealing. Like at that point, like just take it
Yeah.
from them, like
So I guess we've pretty much covered the death of trading in the card game. I think we both agree it probably happened like in the early 2010s. Something that I thought was interesting too is like Frazier touched up on like on one of his podcasts. I don't remember when it was, but even Magic the Gathering, and I think his discussion was leaning more toward the fact that Magic players are just more. I guess they're older. They probably have better professions.
yeah,
Um, but even then, like they don't trade either. And I've never, and I play Pokemon from time to time too. Like it's across all the card games. Like nobody wants to trade.
exactly.
And even now, like little kids will just get their parents to like. I've seen parents sit at Pokemon tournaments while their kids play for like 3 hours, and they're just on their phones, and their kids are like, "Hey, I need $20 to get this deck. Okay, here you go," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they might trade like the kid across from them. They got something a little bit better. But even then, like it's just like, no, I'll just get my mom to buy it for me.
Exactly. Yeah, like I cannot tell you the last time I went to a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament and took a trade binder with me with the purpose of actually trading with people.
The only thing
it's been a long time.
Yeah, if we got a binder on us, it's a staple binder. It's like in case I need to put this in my deck, that's why I have this binder.
Exactly. Yeah, and I hate it when people when you have your staple binder on the table and you're like doing something and like, hey, can I look at your book? And you're like, I'm not getting rid of it. And they're like, can I just look? Like, no, you can't just look. None of it's for sale. So what are you looking for?
There are two things that get me is like you get those people that I feel bad because like their binder's full of nothing but commons.
Yeah.
And you have to look through it and just act interested. But the other thing that gets me is like, there's people that like have no intention of buying or trading, and they'll just look through your binder and flip through it for 15 minutes. And you're like, dude, I know you're not going to get anything. Like, just give me my book back.
Yeah, exactly.
Or thing is, it's like, yeah, I got a trade binder, but then you go to each page and they're like, well, I'm keeping that. I'm keeping that page. I'm keeping that page. And it's just like, oh my God, and this is not a trade binder, it's a collection binder.
Exactly. Yeah. Then people are like, well, why is it in your binder if you're not getting rid of it? Motherfucker, because this is my collection binder. This is my staple binder. No, I'm not going to sell you my First Ed Secret Dark Armed that's in my binder just because I'm not playing Twilight right now. Like, if I decide to play Twilight, it's going back in the deck. No, you can't have it.
I'm just at the point, like, if anything's in my binder and it's for trade, it's for trade for store credit. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm so far over it, dude. Like, I'm not taking out my binder and sitting down and trading you $30 worth of cards, for your one $15 card because you have an online TCG player storefront. Like you have to make a profit. Like it's not my job to help you make a profit. Like. I don't get it. I don't understand how we got to the point of just because like you give yourself like the title of a vendor that's like just a title to rip people off, and people fall for it. I fell for it a lot. So I feel like this turned into a rant session more than actually a discussion. But I love the direction that this went.
It's just one of those subjects that like there's really not a whole lot to talk about because we covered it pretty much in like what I think like 30 minutes.
Yeah, we're at 45 minutes right now.
It's like venting our frustrations and stuff like that about it.
Exactly.
So I guess we got about 15 minutes left or 20 minutes left.
Yep.
Do you want to touch up on any like past events you've done recently? Any of your Blackwing experiences?
Oh my God. Okay. All right. While we're on a rant session, okay, let me tell you. My voice. Okay. I got so flustered from that. I'm okay. I think I'm good now.
That's why I had to bring it up.
I'm okay now. I don't know what happened. I had to buffer for a second, I guess. But so I had this idea that I was going to start learning how to play Blackwings, right? Because my son's going to be born soon. It's going to be harder for me to get to events. I would really like the events that I go to do well at. So I was like, I'm not going to play Lightsworn at big events that I have to travel to anymore. I don't want to drive 12 hours and use up like my one playtime per like 3 months or something and draw a wolf, right? So I start looking at Blackwings. I'm like, this is one of the best decks of the format. I'm just going to learn how to play this deck. So my first experience is I play it in a side event at our local card shop. I borrow the deck from Ty, and I play against Christiasworn. And game one ends because basically I trap Dust Shoot, and the hand is something, it's like Herald, Soul of Purity, Christia, Card Trooper. So I look at the graveyard, and I'm like, okay, so he can easily manipulate graveyard to the point where he can go special Soul of Purity, normal Herald, make Stardust, drop Christia, and then there's nothing that I can do to get over that. He can also run Herald in to get to 4 fairies, and then drop Christia, which I was significantly less worried about that happening. So what I ended up doing was putting him on, you better get lucky and win. You better mill 1 fairy off of Trooper. So I send back the Soul of Purity. And maybe I should have just sent back the Christia. I don't know. But I send it back. He shuffles, summons Card Trooper, mills over 2 spells, and 1 fairy. So I lose game 1 completely just to like bad luck. I end up winning game 2 and 3. So, round 2 of the side event, I play against Johnson Boss on GBs. And everyone says that that Blackwing is favored against GBs. And when I tell you that your deck cannot deal with trap stun whatsoever. A good player using trap stun. I'm not talking about a player that's like trying to do some weird stuff like special Gazares, wait for you to oppression, chain trap stun so you can chain like Icarus. I'm talking about someone that goes standby phase, activate trap stun. And then what do? If you have judgment set, do you judgment? Do you do nothing? Because if you do nothing, you're going to lose everything. So you have to judgment and you don't even know they could just be flipping it to see if you'll flip judgment. So I end up losing to him because of trap stun and cold wave. So I keep testing the deck a little bit. I don't play test a ton because it's Black Wings. I don't really feel like you have to play a lot. So this past weekend, I decided to play Black Wings in the main event, the main Switch tournament. Round 1, I sit down. It's a Black Wing mirror, so I immediately feel like it's kind of a crapshoot, So game 1, I drew Shura Whirlwind, and basically how this game ends up going is I get heavy stormed, losing my 3 back row, him losing his 3 back row, so heavy storms to go -3, into like Whirlwind Shura Dark Armed. So I lose that one. I'm like, okay, whatever. This is just Black Wings, right? Like this is fine. It happens. So game 2, I go first. And I want to point out that I drew all 3 Sirokkos like 3 times at one locals. Like 3 times, all 3 Sirokkos. Twice was because I actually opened all 3 Sirokkos. The other time was because turn after turn after turn, I drew into all 3 Sirokkos. So my hand is unplayable, but I have Legacy of Yada and I have Gores. So I'm like, this is great. I set Legacy, pass. The first thing that happens is he goes summon Fossil Dyna. And I'm like, what in the hell? Why? Literally, why is that in your deck right now? So he attacks me for 12. I can't do anything. I can't drop Gores. He sets 1 and passes. I summon Sirocco, one of the 3. He gets bottomless. Can't do anything. And then it's like Whirlwind, Shura the next turn on top of Fossil Dyna. And I'm just looking at Gores in my hand. I'm like, I have to be the only person alive that has ever lost playing Black Wings to a Fossil Dyna. I have to be the only person ever. So I don't really get salty anymore when I play Yu-Gi-Oh! Every time I get to go play, it's fun. Like it's a privilege to be able to go play. I was pretty salty. I have to be honest. I was pretty salty, but it wore off very quickly. By the time the next round started, it was gone. Play against Frog OTK and just barely win. I play against our friend Sasha. It was very close, and I ended up winning that. Then round 3, I play against our friend Chase Simpson, who's on GBs. And once again, I think this is the round I drew all 3 Sirokkos like turn after turn after turn. And the game state is so weird because I have like skill drain. I have skill drain and like oppression and torrential. So every time he summons a GB, I have to prevent it, from either attacking or tagging with oppression. But he's never keeping a monster on the field for me to summon Sirocco. So eventually what ends up happening is I have like oppression and skill drain up. I get trap stunned. I have to judgment and end up losing. And I gave the deck back to Ty. I was like, I realize that it is not the deck. It is me. But I was like, literally, fuck that deck. I will never play that deck again at a tournament. I would just assume play. I literally said I would rather play Neospatians because at least they can't bottomless trap hole my Grand Mole. At least I'll have one monster that can't get bottomless. I was so upset.
I still think that this just goes back to like sometimes you can just overthink things, and
I agree.
You can assume that, like you assume that your opponent is going to make a certain play, which would be the best play for them to make. So why wouldn't you set your positioning up to counteract their best play, right?
Yeah.
When they just whip out something stupid that you're not like, that would technically be a bad play on their part. It just so happens it's the play that you didn't want to happen.
Exactly. Like losing to Fossil Dyna when you play Black Wings would be the equivalent of like playing Lightsworn and needing to resolve Plague Spreader and they randomly change Shadow Mirror. That's like the same equivalent.
I think some of those situations, let's say you're playing against like somebody that's great. Like you're playing against like an Eric Shin or a Frazier, whoever right now.
Right.
And these decisions you're making would, of course, I think work better against those players because like they're going to make the move that's best for them. Like they're going to make the the best possible move to like put them in a good position.
Exactly.
And you prepared for that. But you're going against, like, no offense, like somebody, from North Carolina that goes out to like every other Switch tournament, and they're just playing cards because they can.
Exactly.
And it just so happens that like luck is on their side, that like that's what they should have done. And it's like, no, who summons Fossil Dyna against Blackwings, right?
Yeah, sided
Like,
in Fossil
unless-
Dyna as well. Oh, and
Yeah,
and a
like,
second
only-
depression. They also sided in a second
Like-
depression.
Yeah, because to me it's like the only good card that Fossil Dyna outs is like an Armor Master or something like that, right? But there's better cards that do that.
Exactly.
And it's just like Armor, here's Fossil Dyna, now you can't bring out Gorse. And it's just like nobody else that is, like, I'm gonna say competent, for lack of better terms, would play a card like that in a deck like that.
Yeah, I can also tell you that I drew Icarus Attack one time in 3 rounds. Or maybe it was twice. But I drew all 3 Sirokkos multiple times. And I shuffle very thoroughly. Like, I power shuffle, I like ripple shuffle, I shuffle well, and that just kept happening. So that was how I discovered that Blackwings were not for me. That it's not for me. It's a great deck. It's not the deck, it's me, but it is not for me.
See, I have like my love-hate with it. Like I borrowed it from Butcher that one time and got second place in the Switch tourney.
Yeah.
But like I took the hybrid Blackwing deck and like, I did horrible with it. And I think at the end of the day, it just goes back to like skill is 50% of it and luck is the other 50%. And it's probably even more so balanced toward the luck aspect. It might be 20, 80. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree what you said earlier about playing. If you play against like, one of the good players of the format, right? Or even some of the average players of the format. I consider myself to be an average player in the format. The Gores, the legacy flip draw into Gores would have been probably game sealing at that point, because no one in their right mind would ever side in Fossil Dyna in a Blackwing mirror match, right? Like that's not a thing. But he did the wrong play and it worked out for the wrong reasons.
And that are those people that just go to these events and they just run on autopilot. And I'm not trying to be mean, but they're brain dead. Like they're there setting cards down, they're playing the game to the most Neolithic aspect of it, if that makes sense. Like they're just there to have fun and play, right?
Exactly.
Well, they're soloing people who are actually like trying to play with a game plan and a strategy. And because nobody ever normal summons a 1200 Fossil Dyna when Shura exists in the format.
Exactly. And I'll tell you something that I've had to learn, and I'm still learning, that I'll continue to learn, is it's harder to play against the bad people than the good people. Because like you said, the good players will do the best play every time. They'll play around Gores. They'll say there's no way I can play into Gores. I lose immediately. You can bluff Gores against them. The bad player doesn't realize that. The bad player attacks you with their one card, and if it's Gores, the game is over, but you don't have it.
That gets me too, is because like it's those kind of losses eat at you more than like losing to something that's good. Because like at the end of the day, like, okay, well, I lost to somebody that's just better than me. That's just how it is. Or somebody
exactly.
that's equal footing as me. But when you lose to somebody that doesn't play the game as much, or like, and I'm not knocking on nobody because I'm just glad people are here.
Me either. I love everyone at my locals. They're all great.
But you do have people that like they play the same deck every time they go. They just don't have like any desire to really win. They're there to meet their friends and have fun. That's fine.
Exactly.
But taking those losses, it's like, man, it's like I played everything to my knowledge correctly, and it just boils down to like I literally lost to luck today. And it's sad too, because like I don't think that does anything good for the people that beat you either, because technically they didn't play any better than you did. They're not learning anything from the game.
Exactly.
And so they're like, they go home like, oh, I just beat Boyd with on Blackwing, one of the best decks
Fossil
in the room.
Dyna must be the fucking truth in the Blackwing mirror. And then they keep playing it and it never works again.
Yeah, they're going to take Fossil Dyna to the next tournament and they're going to get eaten by Ashura, and like it's
exactly.
GG.
Yeah, but they'll remember that one time that they won in a Blackwing mirror because of Fossil Dyna, and that'll be the reason for siding it in indefinitely.
We're guilty of that too, like we'll set cards in our deck for something like that.
Oh, I've definitely done that before. Yeah.
Yeah, and like well, I'm going to take this to an Ultimate Time Wizard, and then it's like, okay, well, this wasn't a right choice, but you learn from it. But that's also
the only time too. I will say the only caveat to that was Sasuke Samurai #2, because that card cooked. That card was excellent. That was a card I put in as a meme. I started playing that card as a meme, and the more I played it, I was like, this card is actually like Rhoda, and they're like, that's fine. Like, search Sasuke Samurai, and they're like, what the fuck is that? And they read it, and they're like, oh my god, what?
I'll be honest with you. I still think that is in my side deck on the Christie Sworn deck on my DB.
It's a good card.
Because it's searchable and it does what Cold Wave does, and it doesn't cut you off of your spells.
Exactly. If
So,
if I play Rhoda in my Light Sworn deck, I side deck that card even still. Like there's no reason not to.
The worst feeling about having Cold Wave is like, let's say you Cold Wave, but then you also got a Solar Recharge that you have to play.
Yeah.
And you know how it is. So I do want to touch upon something else too before we get off of here. And this could be a longer topic, but I sort of want to touch upon redo format.
Okay.
That's getting a lot of popularity. How do you feel about it?
So, I've only played like 2 matches. I'm really trying to make Six Samurai my deck in that format. I tried to make it my deck in Tengu, and it's just not it. But I like that format a lot more than Tengu and Hat. I feel like it is so vastly different. Tengu is too close to Edison, which we've talked about this. It's a lot like Edison. And then Hat format is almost too much like Modern, where it's like, Soul Charge, Infernity combo, just crazy stuff. There's no Heavy Storm. Like, Hat can just set 5 traps and you have nothing to do. Like, you can't play around everything. But redo format, I think it's a good middle ground. I worry about Dark World kind of becoming a problem, like if people start playing like deck Devi, if that can be an issue. But I definitely like it. It's my second favorite format to Edison, even over Goat. I hate Goat format. But I think, and I've said this before, but I feel like it definitely has the highest chance of being the next format that people pick up and start playing. Oddly enough, we got a leak today from Quarter Century Stampede, and Wind Up Carrier Zenmady, the level 3 guy, rank 3 guy, he's getting reprinted in there, which is very odd. So it makes me wonder, like, have Konami's scouts like been paying attention to the stuff that like Hydropomp, Pudding, and Marcus Hayden have been putting out?
It's not just that too. So you got to realize, right? Like, this set's coming on April 11th, and it's already the end of March, right?
Yep.
So you got to have content creators who are going to open this stuff up at least a week in advance. Then it's going to take a week to get this stuff shipped out to them. So these cards, 99% chance have already been printed and determined what they're going to be.
Yeah.
So it's either coincidence or they picked up on that stuff like right when people started talking about it.
Exactly. Yep.
But and it's cool too, because I was wondering, like, if they only do Goat and Edison, like, we shouldn't have an issue with finding any cards in the future now after 200 cards, right?
Right.
Like, but now it's like we have redo format entering. We have some Tengu stuff still. So that makes it more exciting, I think, looking at these reprints.
I agree. And people love Insectors. People love wind-ups. Like, I feel like that format as a whole is more beloved than like the short period of time for Tengu, because I always hear people talk about like, man, I miss playing wind-ups, man, I miss playing Insectors, stuff like that. And it is kind of this weird format where there are decks that are good, but I don't feel like there's any decks that are so far ahead of everything else that it's a one deck format.
I think that Dark World reminds me of Frogs, and I think Marcus Hayden touched up on it. Like, it's probably going to blow you out of the game 1, but it's one of the easiest decks to side against.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you could probably overside against it because there's just so many hate cards for it.
Yeah.
But I think what I like about it too is, like, you got Hero Beat. It's a more complete deck because you have all the attribute fusions out now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the one time I played against Dark World with Six Samurai, I just made a turn 1 Nat Beast and the game was over.
Yeah, and I think the one card that, if it would be an issue for anybody, and this probably is like relatable to Trap Dust Shoot, except it's the Shockmaster, which, I mean, it's not. I think it's worse than Trap Dust Shoot in a sense, like worse for the format in a sense, because like you can't just it's not in your deck in a 40 card deck like Dust Shoot. You have to draw it, right?
Yeah.
The Shockmaster, there's combo enablers, things like that, and extenders in the format now, which you didn't really have a lot of extenders before this format, like when you look at like Tengu, Edison, Goat, things like that. So I think that card might pose some issues, but I think overall, I think it's a healthy format.
I do too. Yep, and I'm excited to see where it ends up going.
Yep.
So that was, I think this is about all that we have for you guys today. We went on a lot of rants. We discussed a lot of things, and this whole podcast was just a roller coaster from the beginning. I really enjoyed it, and we are going to keep having more guests in the future. I am going to be having Enraged Peacock and Ethan Slaughter and Justin taking over the podcast for me for a while everything gets adjusted, to the way my life will be once my son is here. But I do want to do some more podcast episodes with like just me and you, because I really have missed like the back and forth banter that we have throughout these.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's nice that when you tune into the podcast, you don't know what you're going to get, right?
Exactly.
It's because, is it going to be Justin and Boyd? Is it going to be Enraged and Ethan? Because those guys just bring a personality of their own.
Yeah, they do.
And it's almost a different show when those guys are on there.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you got Ty and stuff like that too that does really good. So I think what I like about it is just the variety that you're going to get. And like a lot of like today wasn't even really planned. Like we'll sit down sometimes with you guys and do like a synopsis and a rough draft of what we want to talk about. But I think the best ones are like we just have a conversation and the people listening can relate to it.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Before we get out of here, I would like to say that we do accept fan mail. The email address is in the video description and the podcast description if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. It's TheEdisonClubFanmail@gmail.com. Send us some listener letters, some fan mail. Yeah. We do enjoy reading those on the show. Justin, what were you going to say?
We accept fan female too.
I don't know about all that.
Okay. Well.
All right. So that's about all we have for you guys today. Thank you all for listening. This is Mike and Justin from the Edison Club. Don't go buying furniture off of Marketplace unless you check it very well. Check all the drawers. Check for hidden compartments. You don't want to be put in a situation like me. Don't scalp Pokemon cards. Just overall don't be a piece of shit. Just be a good human being. And we'll see you on the next one.
Hamster Ryko Caius. I go check the pairings, I'm like, don't know who this guy is. Hamster Ryko Caius, Hamster Ryko Caius. 2-0 every round, man, and I ain't even trying. It's just Hamster Ryko Caius, Hamster Ryko Caius, Hamster Ryko Caius.